All right, today we're going to step into the world of a 13-year-old girl, and we're going to see it entirely through her own words. This is from The Diary of Anne Frank, a really personal account written under some of the most extraordinary circumstances you can even imagine.
I mean, this line, it just pulls you right in, doesn't it? This isn't some distant historical figure talking. It's a schoolgirl, just like any other, worried sick about her grades. It's a feeling we all know, and it's kind of our doorway into her world, right before everything changed.
Okay, so to really get a sense of who Anne was, you've got to hear this story about her and her maths teacher. It's basically a battle of wits, and it shows you just how clever and charming she could be, even when she was getting in trouble. So here's the deal. Anne was a talker, a big talker, and her maths teacher, Mr. Keesing, who she called an old fogey, which I love, he'd pretty much had it. After warning her over and over, he fell back on that classic teacher punishment. Extra homework.
And you know, the punishments just kept getting worse. The first essay, a chatterbox, was pretty straightforward, but Anne kept talking, so he upped the ante with an incorrigible chatterbox, basically saying, "You're a lost cause, you can't be fixed." By the third time, the title is just a flat-out joke at her expense. It's clearly meant to shut her down for good.
But Anne? Oh no, she wasn't going to let him win. She'd run out of logical arguments for why talking was a good thing, so she knew she needed a totally new plan. With a little help from her friend San, she decided to flip the whole thing on its head and write the final essay completely in verse.
Her solution was, honestly, it was genius. She wrote this poem that was funny, yeah, but also a little dark, with a message you just could not miss. She was cheekily comparing Mr. Keesing to a father who kills his own kids just for being themselves, just for quacking. It was such a bold move, and she pulled it off with incredible style.
And get this, it worked. It worked perfectly. Mr. Keesing totally got the joke and loved it. He read her poem out loud not just to her class, but to other classes too. From that day on, he let her talk, never gave her extra homework again, and he even started cracking jokes himself. She completely turned him around with her wits.
So we've just met this super clever, vibrant teenager who can handle a grumpy teacher? No problem. But that's just one tiny piece of the puzzle. The world outside those classroom walls? Well, that was a completely different story, and it changes everything.
And you have to understand this backdrop to really get it. She was born in Germany, but her family had to flee to the Netherlands when she was only 4 years old to get away from the Nazis. But they weren't safe for long. The occupation spread, and they were trapped. And that whole story with her teacher, that happened just weeks before her life changed forever.
Just imagine that. 2 years, 8 people, all crammed into these tiny, hidden rooms. This becomes the setting for pretty much the whole diary. So in the middle of all that fear and total isolation, what makes a young girl start to write with such passion?
And this really gets to the core of why the diary even exists. It wasn't just a log of what happened each day. For Anne, it was way more important than that. As she put it herself, paper has more patience than people.
You see, for Anne, writing wasn't just something to do to pass the time. It was a need. A desperate need. Trapped in the silence of that hidden annex, she had this whole universe of thoughts and feelings just building and building inside her with absolutely nowhere to go.
And on the outside, it looked like she had it all, right? A loving family, tons of friends. But underneath all that, she felt completely alone. The one thing she really craved was a true confidant, that one person you can tell absolutely everything to. And she felt like she didn't have that.
So you know what she did? She made one. She decided this diary wasn't just going to be a book for jotting down facts, as she put it. Nope. This diary was going to be her friend, and she named it Kitty. That simple act turned a plain notebook into her constant companion, and every entry became a letter to someone who she knew would always listen.
So for 2 whole years, she poured her heart out in these letters to Kitty. But what happened next? What happened to Anne, her family, and the secret world she created on paper?
Well, after 2 years, the worst happened. They were betrayed. Everyone in the secret annex was arrested and sent to concentration camps. Anne and her sister died just weeks before their camp was liberated. Out of all 8 people in hiding, only her father, Otto, survived. When he finally returned, a friend gave him Anne's diary, which she had saved, and he made the incredible decision to share her voice with the world.
And this is where everything changes. A private journal becomes a global testament. What started as the secret thoughts of one teenager gives us something no history textbook ever could: a real, intimate, human connection to an unimaginable time. It lets millions of us see this huge historical tragedy not as a statistic, but through the eyes of one clever, hopeful, and terrified girl.
In this quote, wow, written while she's trapped, completely cut off from the world. It just shows you she was still a kid with dreams of going to Hollywood even in the absolute darkest of times. It's that spirit, that refusal to stop dreaming, that makes her diary so powerful and unforgettable.
So we're left with this question. What really happens when a voice is silenced? In Anne Frank's case, the answer is just extraordinary. Because even though her life was tragically cut short, her voice, the one she preserved in her diary, her friend Kitty, it refused to be silent. It endured, and it continues to speak to all of us today.